Ladies and gentlemen, señoras, señores, esteemed guests and distinguished experts, good afternoon, buenas tardes, and welcome to the event dedicated to Space for Innovation in Rail towards satellite-based ERTMS. This conference is jointly organized by the European Union Agency for the Space Programme, the European Union Agency for Railways, Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking, and the Director General for Mobility and Transport at the European Commission, DG Move. I'm honored to be your moderator for today's proceedings. My name is Catherine Cesco. I'm the Chief Stakeholder Relation and Dissemination at Europe's Rail, and I'll be guiding us through this crucial and exciting journey into the future of rail transportation. We have gathered here today to delve into the cutting-edge developments and transformative possibilities that satellite-based technologies offer for the European Rail Traffic Management System, ERTMS. This event follows a first edition held in 2019 in Vienna, and then in 2021 during the Shift to Rail Innovation Days. And it is the evidence of our commitment to innovation, fostering collaboration and enhancing the efficiency, safety, and sustainability of our railways. As we all know, the European railway sector plays a pivotal role in our continent transportation infrastructure. It connects cities and regions, promotes economic growth, and contributes to our shared sustainability goals. Yet, to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow, we must continuously evolve and adopt new technologies. Over the next 3 minutes, I want to provide you with an overview of what to expect during our event and our time together. Firstly, we will explore the core theme of this event, ERTMS, of course. The European Rail Traffic Management System is the backbone of railway signaling and control across Europe. By integrating satellite-based technologies, we have the potential to enhance its accuracy, coverage, and overall performance. Our speakers and panelists will share their insights into the technical aspects, benefits, and challenges of this integration. We will explore how satellite-based ERTMS can boost safety, reduce operational costs, and pave the way for more efficient and environmentally friendly rail transport. Throughout the day, you will have the opportunity to engage in meaningful discussion, ask questions, and network. I encourage you all to take full advantage of this unique platform to exchange ideas and build valuable connections. In addition to our panel discussion and presentation, we will also showcase real examples from the field. Lastly, our event will conclude with a forward-looking perspective outlining the roadmap for the future of satellite-based ERTMS and the role each of us can play in shaping this transformative journey. Before we begin, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks on behalf of all of the organizers, to the Spanish Ministry of Transport, to ADIF, to SEDEX for hosting us today, thank you very much, to FFE for their support, and the organizing team, of course, who have worked tirelessly to make this event possible. Before we dive into the content of this event, let's cover some housekeeping rules to ensure a smooth and productive experience for all. Please familiarize yourself with the event schedule. You can find detailed information about the agenda, the speakers and the topics on our official website and printed documents. We will strive to keep time as closely as possible to maximize the benefit of your participation. For in-person attendees, please make sure you have your events badge visibly displayed at all times. This will help us identify you and will give you access to the dinner tonight and the site visits tomorrow. During the panel session and presentation, we encourage active participation. You can raise your hands and ask questions during the Q&As, and our microphone runner will assist you with a microphone. For our online viewers, of course, please use the chat feature on YouTube to comment. We will take this into consideration in our conclusions. So we will not forget, of course, our online viewers. We understand the importance of networking at events like these, so during the break, please network and make valuable connections. We will also have more opportunities to network tonight during our walking dinner at the Railway Museum and tomorrow during the site visit. For our online audience, consider connecting with other fellow participants on LinkedIn or professional platform to foster further discussion. And please follow us on social media using the event hashtag, which is hashtag Satellite4Rail, number 4, when posting about the event. This event has been recorded and will be made available for future reference. In addition to the YouTube live stream, you can expect to find recordings, presentation slides, and other relevant material on our event websites after the event concludes. Photos will be taken during the event, and you have been identifying yourself if you don't wish to be photographed. The photographer has been made aware of this. We greatly value your feedback on this event, so we will be sending you a short online survey at the end of the event to collect your thoughts and suggestions. Last but not least, enjoy the event. We have an incredible lineup of speakers and discussions for you today, and your participation and engagement are what makes this event a success. So thank you for your attention, and we can now start. So to officially launch our event, I have the pleasure to invite Dr. Mrs. Aurea Perucho, Director of SEDEX, to share a welcome statement with us. Dr. Perucho, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dear authorities from the Spanish Ministry, ADIF, the European Commission and the European Agencies for Railways and Space Programme. First of all, I would like to thank you for attending this conference. It is a great honor for SEDEX to host it, and as SEDEX Director, allow me to address some few welcoming words. The conference will focus on the use of satellite technologies for railways and more specifically for ERTMS. Europe has a very ambitious space program which includes the Galileo constellation that is almost completed and already operational, as well as the future IRIS² satellite telecommunications project. But also in parallel, Europe must face a pending challenge, which is the deployment of ERTMS in all its railway network to increase both interoperability and safety of the European rail system, and to achieve the long-awaited single European railway area. And clearly, satellite technologies can help both to improve the capacities of the ERTMS with, for example, the future level 3, as well as to drastically reduce the costs of implementing it, which is one of the biggest impediments to the European ERTMS deployment. In this sense, the holding of this conference, which brings together the two agencies, the space and the railways, is a wise move. And I hope that the conclusions of the conference will be useful to advance in this path of using European public satellite technologies to finally consolidate the deployment of ERTMS in Europe. I wish you the best of luck. I hope that the conference will be a success and that your stay in Madrid will be highly profitable. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Perucho, for this introductory words. I now have the honor to welcome on stage Mrs. Carmen Librero, Spanish Special Commissioner for Transport, Mobility and Urban Agenda. Mrs. Librero has a substantial transport and European affairs experience. Special Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Wow. Thank you, Catherine. Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this second edition of Space for Innovation Rail to our satellite-based ERTMS. I'm truly delighted to be given the opportunity to open this event that combines, on the one hand, the space sector, in which I have been working for a long time, and on the other hand, the application of its data in railway domain, to which I had to pay particular attention during my time as Secretary General of Transport. My first words will be of gratitude to European Railway Joint Undertaking, the European Union Railway Agency, the European Union Space Programme Agency, and the European Commission. Representative by Executive Directors Giorgio Travaini, Joseph Doppelbauer, and Rodrigo da Costa, and the representative of European Commission, Substitute Elisabetta Luque-Nuke. I try to say perfect. Okay. Thank you for its continuous effort to develop the best satellite system in the world and introduce them to the transport sector, in particular in railway sector. Also, I would like to thank you, our hostess, the Center of Studies and Experimentation of Public Works, FedEx. Thank you for welcoming us all to your premises. It is that this event will have no meaning without the contribution of all the speakers that will share their knowledge and vision with us during the next days. Thank you very much for your participation. And finally, thank you very much to all of you that have registered to the event and are here with us. Spain sees space a clear opportunity to improve rail transport and is clearly committed to the study of these technologies and their potential application. Proof of this is the number of the national experts who participate in these sessions, as well as the involvement of the public administration in the organization. I would like to thank you, Marisa Dominguez, President of ADIF, for her presence here today as well, perhaps later than now. The Space for Innovation in Rail event is organized under the Spanish Presidency of the Council of the European Union, and its objective is to debate the introduction of the European Union satellite programs in the railway domain. When my team presented the idea to me a year ago, more or less, I immediately told them, let's go for it, aware of the enormous contribution that the space could have in the role of the rail as a key factor for a green and sustainable transport system in Europe. Compared to the others, the railway domain appears as a real opportunity for decarbonization and route optimization. However, to take advantage of its full potential, the rail sector should be embrace the latest innovation in green and digital technologies, paving the way to increase its cost effectiveness, to operate even safer, to improve passenger experience, and to contribute to the decarbonization of European transport system, in complete alignment with the ambitions established by the European Commission in this matter. To fulfill those objectives, the different components of European Space Programme will play a fundamental role. During the next 2 days, the central focus will be to learn more about the progress and the implementation of Galileo and EGNOS for train localization, but also about the possibilities of introducing a satellite-based communication in the railway system. The use of Galileo and EGNOS was addressed in the first edition and now will be further developed in this second. As you know, the European Union is developing its new space flagship program, ERTMS, a European secure satellite communication constellation that might bring significant benefits to the railway sector. Therefore, it is a real luxury and challenge to include a panel on this innovative technology in this second edition. The technology evolution in the rail sector cannot be understood without space technology, whose application boosts efficiency, safety, and overall performance. Space brings many benefits and contributes to better solutions in this sector. However, its exploitation also represents a challenge in such a complex environment, where the presence of tunnels or canyon, for instance, may compromise the use and performance of space services. The adaptation of space technology in this domain covers from the planning and design of the new routes by means of geospatially analyzed to the operational and maintenance phases of the railway infrastructure. Within the context of the European Rail Traffic Management System, Galileo and EGNOS can be used as a means to introduce virtual balances in the European train control system and to provide the train integrity monitoring function. Outside Europe, satellite navigation systems are already being deployed for train control, mainly in the United States, and may contribute to preventing accidents through real-time monitoring of train position and speed. Besides satellite navigation system, it is also crucial to count with a robust infrastructure for communication and data transmission between the trains and the control centers. In this respect, the European ERTMS may provide a communication infrastructure for railway operation, for example, in remote areas or where terrestrial networks are unavailable. Earth observation programs such as Copernicus may well contribute to the monitoring of the railway health status and to the detection and response to natural disaster, preventing accidents and damage to the rail infrastructure. Space data may be used to monitor the condition of tracks, bridge, and rolling stock, enabling predictive maintenance and minimize downtime. Satellite-based weather monitoring may help railway operators to anticipate extremely adverse weather conditions. To sum up, space technology plays a crucial role for the railway sector, and the adoption of the space-based solution will contribute to a more sustainable, resilient, and efficient transport, reducing the environmental impact of the railways, optimizing energy consumption, and lowering emissions. A glimpse to the program shows that this today's event is the place to learn about all of this. During the sessions, we will have the opportunity to listen a myriad of president, vice presidents, director generals, and senior engineering manager representing the whole value chain of the sector, including manufacturers, infrastructure managers, operators, regulators, decision makers, and academia. They will share with us the state of play of space innovation and digitalization technologies in the railway domain, together with their vision and prospect for its implementation, adaptation by the rail community. Finally, I would also like to draw your attention to the 4 unique visits that the organization has organized, and which includes Atocha train station, ADIF traffic control center, FedEx ERTMS railway interoperability laboratory, and FedEx track box laboratory. I would like to conclude by once again thanking the European Railway Joint Undertaking, the European Union Railway Agency, the European Union Space Programme Agency, and the European Commission for organizing this event, and our host, FedEx, for their hospitality. I trust that this event meets your expectation, and that you return home with a new knowledge, new partners, and new desires to develop initiative ideas in rail system. Thank you.
Thank you, Special Commissioner, for these inspiring words. And we will definitely try to make the best of the time we have together. I now have the pleasure to share a video message from Mrs. Barbara Thaler, member of the European Parliament since 2019 and member of the Transport Committee. Mrs. Thaler contributed to the debate to the greening transport package and is a strong supporter of rail. She was at the heart of the resolution of 7 July 21 on railway safety and signalling, ensuring synergies between ERTMS and GNSS.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much indeed for giving me the chance to address you directly. So why do we need innovation? Why do we need innovations like linking ERTMS with the European Union space program? I am currently in the middle of the TEN-T trialogue, and according to some big member states, we even do not need ERTMS, let alone a substantial upgrade. The Commission, the European Parliament, and member states have 2 things in common. We are constantly talking about how important innovation is and how much we would like to see rail succeed. The problem is, innovation is driven by competition. If there is no competition, then you need no innovation. Stable long-term GDP growth is depending on innovation. Innovation itself is basically just making things more efficient, aka cheaper, and slowly improves them. It's an effort. It needs smart people in R&D, and there should be a business case. Sadly, the railway sector is a bit short of competition, except for the early days where a locomotive could drive through Europe and unlock whole continents around us. However, since more than a century, railway is stuck in various national borders. Please don't get me wrong. Being more efficient, being innovative is of course important for incumbents, but sometimes I have the feeling that keeping the market closed seems to be almost as important. Sure, the market is now more open than it was before, but if we look at the passenger side, almost every train is running on PSOs. If a privately owned company has the chance to get a train pass in order to compete, then it is still competing against the taxpayer. And as it stands, the taxpayer has deep pockets. The same is partly true for the supply industry. How often did I hear that ERTMS deployment is not possible because the industry can't deliver on time? You will never ever hear that the car maker will not satisfy the demand because he is lacking capacity. This only happens during a pandemic and geostrategic cost shortages of raw material or crucial components. I never heard that we are lacking chips or raw materials in order to equip Europe with ERTMS on time. Sure, it would certainly help if we agree on one standard with one, and I cannot stress it enough, only one authority, which is called European Railway Agency, and which should be the only one responsible for permitting procedures. No more extra national rules, no more extra safety standards, no more tailor-made national systems. I truly believe that we need to be true Europeans on that one. If we do not unlock the single market for rail, then we will not see the benefits. However, and I'm coming to an end now, I would kindly ask you to also promote a railway system which rewards innovation, which is striving to improve its efficiency, which needs to be more productive with fewer resources. If we would have such an environment, then I would not need to argue with certain member states if 2060 is not a bit late for implementing ERTMS. I wish you a successful and rewarding event. You choose a perfect topic, and thank you very much once more for giving me this opportunity. All the best from Strasbourg.
Note well taken, unleashing the potential of our sector by opening up the market. Thank you, Mrs. Thaler, in the distance. I now have the pleasure to welcome on stage Mrs. Elżbieta Lukaniuk, responsible for land transport and road safety in the Cabinet of European Commissioner for Transport, Adina Valean. Mrs. Lukaniuk is a strong supporter of rail and carries the vision of Europe on rail innovation. Mrs. Lukaniuk, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to everyone, and ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. It's not very often that we have the opportunity to combine rail with space, and it's really my pleasure to be together with you today, especially as we are under the Spanish presidency of the European Union Council, and this is the opportunity for the Spanish authorities to leave their mark on the European agenda. And I'm also very happy to be here today with you, as we are on the day where Commissioner Valean, European Commissioner for Transport, is together with all commissioners, with our President in the plenary session in Strasbourg for the annual delivery of the State of the Union address. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch the State of the Union address, but I just wanted to bring two elements for you. One of the elements from this big political context is the European competitiveness. And actually, this is extremely timely event that we are having today, because competitiveness of the European economy actually depends on the access of the European companies to the innovative solutions, to all modern solutions. And this is a key theme that you will, if you haven't seen yet the speech of the President, you will find in her address. Then the second element is the reconfirmation of the European Commission to the Green Deal objectives. And I would like to bring to your attention the fact that from the beginning of the mandate, from the beginning of this European Commission setting, we put a special focus into the rail sector as the mode of transport that is able to deliver and bring us closer to the sustainability. So we put rail in the heart of the sustainable and smart mobility strategy, and we have very important objectives there, very ambitious ones. The first one is to triple high-speed services by 2050, and the second is to double rail freight services by 2050. So how to achieve these milestones? It's not easy because, of course, we need the sector and industry to help us, and actually we need to refocus maybe the service that we are having now to have better quality and also lower prices. And we need certainly a sort of more customer-oriented approach. And actually use of innovative solutions can help us to bring this cost reduction and better quality and price of services. And I'm happy to see that actually space technology for train positioning can be one of the technologies that reduces the cost of train infrastructure and operations, and it also increase the flexibility of operations. It can also increase the frequency and punctuality of services. We, however, need further works in this field, and everyone is welcome to contribute. So Europe's Rail, the European Union Agency for Railways, as well as European Union Agency for the Space Program. We need to prepare the technology, and we need to also put into place the regulatory framework that is adapted. But then we come to the deployment phase where huge investment is needed on the side of the sector and on the side of the railway undertakings and infrastructure managers. What we also see is not only that rail positioning is there within the offer that we can take from the space sector for rail, but it is also a communication system, IRIS, and actually we welcome the offer to have this communication system as a supplementary one. Actually, our intention is to align it and make it complementary to the future railway mobile communication system. And this system could be a backup in case of disruptions, but also can be a sort of solution that can be used in situations where the 5G reach is not sufficient. What it will bring to the sector is actually the resilience, increased resilience, as it could serve as backup for any kind of crisis, natural disasters, technical failures, etc. And also we see this as a way forward to follow. Nevertheless, As I said, we are not very often discussing all together all these elements and finding the practical way how to use and combine rail with space. So there is the task for you actually coming. We count on you on discussions today to bring closer both sectors, to also define better maybe the path to follow, and to make at least a few steps forward towards this synergies between rail and space. With this, I wish you excellent discussions today and very successful ideas that can be further implemented in practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lukaniuk, for these encouragements for us to deliver a concrete path towards the future and the exploitation of the potential of Satellite4Rail. I would like now to welcome Mrs. Maria Luisa Dominguez, Chairwoman of ADIF, the Spanish Administrador de Infraestructuras Ferroviarias, excuse me for my accent, and President of EIM. Mrs. Dominguez, the floor is yours.
Confusing. Okay. So, good morning all colleagues and so many known faces. Welcome to Madrid. Ladies and gentlemen participating in this session, thank you all for your presence here in Madrid. Today I'm honored to address you in the context of the Space for Innovation in Rail event on 3 different subjects. The first is to highlight ADIF's commitment with ERTMS rollout. The second will be to introduce to European Union initiatives that will be discussed during the later sessions in the next 2 days and their application for rail. And third and finally will be to introduce ADIF's current innovation actions able to use the spatial developments to speed up the roll-up and migration processes. This final element will be explained in full detail tomorrow during the last day of conferences and panels. Over the last years, ADIF and ADIF High Speed have deployed and commissioned 2,800 kilometers of lines with fully operative ERTMS. Such a remarkable achievement has allowed us, and therefore Spain as a member state, to become pioneers and clear references within the European Union for the rollout of the system. Besides that, a huge effort has been done to adapt to the different baselines and migrate to the updated versions of ERTMS, while the lines were in operation, with minimal disturbances caused to traffic and overall transport in those corridors. So, how can we improve our good performance in these processes of rollout and migration? Innovation can be key to improve both. With a smart and new overall strategy for ERTMS migration using the outcomes of innovative actions, it will include a seamless approach, changeability principles, and compatibility considerations. This would foster in the easiest way possible the transition phases of different areas within the European network, both the pioneering ones and those now starting to roll out process. We are aiming that this will be one of the results of Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking, where ADIF is participating as a founding member since 2021. However, rollout still needs an extra boost. Apart from reaching a harmonized approach across the European Union for the evolution of ERTMS architecture and baseline, innovation actions shall include other considerations. These include needs for an increased capacity, maintainability, and safety levels until the targets are met. At the same time, investment costs should be reduced, as well as maintenance and operation of the control command signaling subsystems costs. This would allow for a reduction in rail travel prices, essential to create a shift to rail from other modes. For instance, less trackside equipment associated to the CCS subsystem can be essential to deploy systems in lines with services generating less income, such as the low-density lines. But still, the need for train positioning, detection, and communications provided currently by infrastructure assets remain a vital necessity. Let us recall one of the specifications of rail in comparison with other transport modes. Railways are guided transport mode, quite different compared to the case of the road, maritime, and air transportation, where the movement in a three-dimensional space has more degrees of freedom. That's maybe why for railways in its origin, even in position was an important parameter, precision for positioning was not as critical to fulfill safety critical requirements back in the day compared to the other modes of transport. Similar aspects can be said about detection and communication needs in relation to the primary existing operational conditions and number of services in rail. Indeed, demands for transportation have changed significantly over the last 2 centuries in this respect. So, how can satellite applications help enhance the current rail infrastructure capabilities and even in some cases replace them? The truth is that rail has huge infrastructure management implications that could be alleviated by making use of satellite technology. During the next 2 days, we will overview some of the remarkable advancements on the development of spatial technologies applied to rail and its implementation for different use cases. We must consider how, since the last event for Space for Innovation in Rail hosted in Vienna in March 2019, several advances have changed the vision and roadmap for these technologies concerning both passengers and freight traffic, and for several modes of transport, including, of course, the railway sector. European initiatives linked to satellite application will play pivotal roles in enhancing and advancing several modes of transport. Some of these applications are expected to be fully operative before the end of this decade. The rail sector has both common ground and differences with other modes of transport in terms of satellite applications already available or under development that could potentially enhance rail transport operation, passenger experience, and services. Therefore, these European satellite programs are instrumental in promoting safety, efficiency, and innovation within their respective domains. Galileo, EGNOS, Copernicus, and IRIS² can collectively enhance rail transportation by providing precise positioning, augmented accuracy, but above all, integration of rail transport with other modes, infrastructure monitoring, and sustainability solutions. These benefits can contribute to the safety, efficiency, and overall performance of railways. ADIF has already worked in the past to foster the use of space technology in rail with the RailGap and ERSAT GGC innovation projects. And now we will be making use of these space programs with other partners in Europe's rail joint undertaking to foster rail innovation according to its multi-annual work program, participating actively in its flagship projects as a beneficiary of their consortia. This is foreseen to be more extensively done in FP2 R2 data on FP6 future in relation with ERTMS. Meanwhile, through the Resilience and Recovery Funds, ADIF has started the development for an ERTMS solution for low-density lines. Its implementation will benefit from space technology, and the prototype, worth 3.7 million euros, including advanced communication system, will be deployed for 36 months in the north of Spain to proceed later with testing under different operational rules. Our innovation team will present more information and details about this action during tomorrow's last panels. Finally, I hope you enjoy your stay in Madrid, taking advantage of these 2 intense days of sessions. I'm confident they will include interesting debates and exchanges that will help our common outcomes to be more practical in terms of usability, harmonization, and costs for the rollout of ERTMS across Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President, for sharing your thoughts and way forward on satellite solutions applied to rail, important aspect raised on safety and operational challenges and costs. To conclude this session, I have the pleasure of inviting now Mrs. Anna Samsel van Hasteren, Deputy Head of Unit at the Directorate General for Defense, Industry and Space at the European Commission. With her substantial experience in space data service collection, Mrs. Amsel will point us in the right direction for space innovation in rail.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very happy to be here today to discuss with you about two critical pillars of a modern society, space and rail. These are not just two modes of transport, these are also two representatives of our aspiration and vision for a better future. The EU space program is a collaborative effort that aims at enhancing Europe's capabilities in satellite technology and space-based applications. It builds upon the success of two flagships of the European space innovation and technology, Galileo and Copernicus, which have provided the European Union with satellite navigation and Earth observation. Galileo provides high accuracy and reliable positioning data, reduces our reliance on foreign systems, and enhances EU autonomy and security. It is evidence to the power of collaboration and innovation in the European Union. Copernicus provides space data essential for Earth observation, such as environmental monitoring, disaster management, and climate change assessment. Copernicus data help us to take informed decisions about sustainability policies and developments. The EU space program plays also a crucial role for security and defense, as it is already with Galileo public regulated service. The new secure connectivity constellation, IRIS², will ensure secure and reliable satellite communication to support governmental, military, and critical infrastructure needs. The EU space program fosters, of course, innovation. It supports startups in the space industry. It drives economic growth and it offers jobs. And this is very much in line with the message that the President von der Leyen passed today to the European Parliament, that Europe needs more innovation to be more competitive. I think the space program is an ample example where Europe delivers on innovative solutions and on improving its competitiveness. As we venture into space, we should not forget the importance of maintaining an efficient and sustainable transport on Earth. Rail transport is a tested solution that has connected communities and countries over centuries. Rail infrastructure and services are also essential for achieving sustainable, efficient, and interconnected transport in the Union, and rail sector contributes, of course, to the objectives of the European Green Deal and sustainability. The intersection of space data and services and the rail industry presents a range of opportunities for enhancing efficiency, safety, sustainability, and security in the rail transport. So first, navigation and positioning data delivered by Galileo and by EGNOS can improve the information on train positioning, hence improving and increasing the level of safety in the rail transport at a lower cost. Navigation and positioning, we could also imagine that they can be used to develop client-friendly solutions in the field of logistics, allowing tracking and shorter delivery times, important for clients. Second, the use of Copernicus data provides benefits in terms of infrastructure monitoring and detecting hazards around rail infrastructure, such as tracks. And third, the services provided by the secure connectivity, IRIS², offer several advantages, for instance, wide coverage, where the terrestrial systems fail, resilience, data security, and real-time monitoring. The integration of space data and services within the rail sector can create a powerful synergy. It can be an enabler for the rail sector to transform its operation and deliver better services to clients at a lower cost. And let me draw a parallel. The use of navigation and positioning data in cars enabled an emergency in-vehicle call already years ago. Now when we buy a new car, it's difficult to imagine that this car would not have a receiver that can receive a signal from GPS or Galileo. So it is our opportunity, and it was basically a very important step for innovation in the automotive industry. Now we need to think about making sure that space data can be a game changer for the rail sector and for the rail industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Samsel. I thank all the speakers from this panel, and I am pleased to see that our commitment to full participation by women has taken a true meaning in this first session. Our next session will be setting the scene, looking at space for expanding ERTMS capabilities. This session will be moderated by DG Move. Unfortunately, as announced previously, the head of unit, Keir Fitch, couldn't be with us today, but we will benefit from the strong expertise from Inigo Cruz-Martinez, Policy Officer in DG Move Unit C4 for rail safety and interoperability. Inigo, the stage is yours.
Good almost afternoon, I guess, in Spain now. Buenas tardes a todos. So I would like to call the members of the panel to the table so we can share and exchange some from the expertise and answer some questions that I would like to ask, but also I will invite you at the end of their interventions to participate and also ask, because I probably will already set the scene. We know that rail and satellites are bound, but how are they? So there are still many questions pending and many answers that we need to hear, hopefully, today and tomorrow. So I would like to invite Ms. Elisabetta Lukaniuk, Mr. Marcin Wojcik, replacing Matthias Rutte, Rodrigo da Costa, Joseph Doppelbauer, and Giorgio Travani. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, first of all, a small rule. You will have 5 minutes to answer the following question. I will need to be a bit sharp on this, otherwise we'll step into too much delay, unfortunately. And also I would like to share with you one thought, because this morning, as it was already mentioned, it was the Statement of the Union. Our President, Ursula von der Leyen, mentioned the following. They say, when Europe is bold, it gets things done. Interesting. They said, let's deliver today and prepare for tomorrow. So the question I got, in general, is how can we deliver? Because we have spoken of the potential outcomes, the potential interfaces between satellites and rail. But do we know how to do it real? If I'm a citizen, an ordinary citizen, taking a train nearby in a touch station, when will I see the trains using satellite technology? That's the big question. But if I'm allowed to be more concrete, taking advantage of all your expertise and your great overview on rail sector and satellite sector, well, I will start with you, Elisabetta, asking you about the Commission position. I mean, what do you expect from all this? What is from your perspective, the way forward?
Much, Inigo. Actually, I think that I already explained a lot in the introduction, but I would like to just maybe point out to the most important element that should accelerate the deployment in future. So I think that this is the very concrete question of the cost reduction for the industry, but also for the operators and infrastructure managers. And here I would say that rail sector has now the only opportunity, quite exceptional one, being seen as the way that can actually help us to become more sustainable in the transport sector. And when I say this, this means also that there are quite a lot of support, financial resources within the European programs for rail investment, including also works within the Europe's rail joint undertaking, but of course within lots of the EU funding programs. And with this, I would say that the rail sector has to grasp this opportunity and also rethink a bit how they would like to see the sector in the future and how it should look like. And then I think that this link between space and rail, it goes very well together. We have quite a lot of new technologies that are considered, and it's also thanks to the shift to rail, the previous joint undertaking that brought quite a lot of innovation for us that is ready to be taken by the sector. And this concerns automated train operations, this concerns also digital automated coupling, also the future rail mobile communication system. And when thinking about these innovative solutions, we also have to think how to make use and full synergy of the space program and of these opportunities that you have heard already in the introduction presented there, not only about the positioning of the trains, but also concerning the communication. Of course, for all this, we need further works, and I'm happy that today we have all the key players and that we have also the regulatory part well present, and I see quite a lot of representatives from the sector, from the industry. So this is certainly sort of way to look into the sector in a more innovative way, and it's clearly certain opening that is needed there to consider more innovative solution, but we have this in mind and bring this very boldly, step by step, and put to work in practice for the citizens and for the also companies that transport goods. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Elzbieta. That's very interesting. And building on top of that, I would like now to ask to Marcin. He's an expert on the Trans-European networks. He knows quite well the development of ERTMS and the struggle to develop it. So what can you tell us maybe about the opportunities and obstacles that you see in order to make this combination real of satellite and ERTMS?
I don't know, can you hear me? Okay. Actually, I'm replacing Matthias Rüte, who is the for ERTMS, and unfortunately he can't because health issues. And so maybe I will use the fallback scenario. So Matthias Rüte is dealing with the ERTMS deployment, and I would like to establish some links between ERTMS deployment and the satellite technology. And I'm sincerely convinced that over the last couple of years we have witnessed a major paradigm shift in Europe. So it's not anymore the discussion if ERTMS should be deployed, it's rather when and how should it be deployed. And we think also that the vocation of ERTMS should be to become the single European rail signaling system, replacing the Class B systems, the conventional systems on the at least 10T network, but potentially also on the entire network in Europe, so that we have only one system in Europe and the Class B systems are going to be decommissioned. And for this we need also a cheaper solution for the regional lines, because it does not make any sense to install hundreds of thousands of balises on some lines where we have 4 or 5 trains a day. So we need a simplified solution, and satellite technology comes very handy. So if we look at the picture, there is a positive business case for uptake of satellite technology. But when we go more into details, the devil is in the details, then we see that for the infrastructure managers there is a perfect business case, because either you don't install the assets trackside, because you don't need all those balises, axle counters and trackside circuits, or you just decommission most of them, if not all. So there is a clear CAPEX and clear OPEX case, because then you don't have to maintain the infrastructure that does not exist. This is also very clear. However, if you look at the operator side, the picture is not that clear, because if you look at the net present value of the investments, that's negative. It's slightly negative. So because the operators will have to invest in the rolling stock, and this is a challenge, because they will have to pay for the success of the infrastructure managers. And they will have to pay not once, not twice, not 3 times, but several times, because they will have to pay for the retrofitting, meaning installation of OBU. They will have to pay for FRMCS. They will have to pay for ATO. They will have to pay for DAC. They will have to pay for satellite installation, and possibly 2 or 3 upgrades. So if you look separately at all those necessary migration processes, which are very important and really necessary, it might end up in the situation that the patient might not survive the cure. It's meaning that the operators might not be able to bear this burden of all those subsequent retrofitting phases. And I'm particularly worried about freight operators, especially the smaller ones, because they are exposed to a fierce competition from the road sector, and they are operating, in many cases, very short fleet, very small fleet which is also very old. So the question is how to tackle it. So we will probably need some offsetting exercise from infrastructure managers towards operators, because if the operators are saying over our dead body, we are not going to invest in the rolling stock, because it means the end of our activity, and those green pastures in 10 years, it's not for us, because we'll not survive. So we have to find solution. There is a good question to what extent it makes sense to retrofit all those old locals that are in many cases diesel propelled, that are with book value 0, and not to replace them by the new locals that are standardized, modular by design, that are also digital and green, meaning zero tail emission, ticking all the boxes, and as such reduce also the maintenance costs in the future. So we should maybe think in Europe about a scrapping scheme, tackling this problem globally, not that every operator should fight and try to survive on its own, but having a global picture. And I think we'll have this debate in the coming years and months. definitely. So we'll need to find the funding because it's better for the taxpayer to have ERTMS deployed in a cheap way and have the rolling stock also digital than to prolong the current situation. Very, very short. So maybe 2 more points. From this perspective, it's crucial that we accelerate also the adoption of the specifications for satellite technology in Europe, and we have to make any conceivable effort to have the specs adopted in framework of the revision of CCSTSI in 2027. So all hands on the deck. And last point, we should maybe also look across the Atlantic Ocean, because in the United States, they deploy the system, which is of course not as sophisticated as we have in Europe. But they did it roughly on time and on budget. And what is very important, that their system is also based on the satellite technology, and it's 10 times cheaper than the European system. So there are some points to ponder. We should really clearly and very deeply analyze what went wrong there, what are the lessons learned, and what we might learn from the experience in Europe. Because ERTMS is E stands for European, but we should turn this E into G in order to have a global system and to sell it across the world and have a one standard also outside Europe. But if we are not credible in terms of price, we might continue selling ERTMS as a solution for high-speed lines, greenfield products, but we'll definitely not convince countries in Asia to deploy ERTMS as it stands now for regional local lines. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Martin. I mean, there's plenty of questions that we need to solve all together. I mean, it's not a question of, hopefully some of them could be solved these days. We will see. Otherwise, in the coming months and years, as you mentioned. And now, from Earth, I'm looking up and looking at the space. Mr. Rodrigo da Costa. My question is simple. I mean, you know better than anyone in the room about satellite and space technology. So, from your perspective, for you, what type of client is Rail, and how can you help them?
Thank you very much for the question. So good afternoon also from my side. And by the way, thank you very much, Martin, for your intervention, because I think I'm going to pick up from where you left it. Of course, I will take a little bit the space view, the space perspective. First of all, I see mostly a community of railway experts, so I will just briefly introduce our agency. We are the EU Agency for the Space Program. We are working with many partners, with the European Commission, with European Space Agency and others to implement the EUSPA program. Let me start by saying at macro level, space is important, and space basically, and I think in this context is important to highlight two particular impacts of space. First, space brings benefits. It brings benefits to many sectors. I could highlight here to you a very long list of sectors. Could talk about agriculture, I could talk about energy management, I could talk about banking and financing. I could talk also about other areas of transport, aviation, road transport, maritime. Space brings benefits, and brings benefits concretely to the operation, to making our systems more efficient. And I truly believe that also to the rail sector, space brings those benefits. The second element I would like to highlight is space fosters innovation. Through space data, space technologies, space services, there are plenty of people out there in the academia, startups, big companies, small companies, that use these signals of space to be more innovative and therefore to be more competitive. So when we are talking about potential adoption and the utilization of space data, space services in the rail sector, I would like you to have these two elements in your mind. The first, space can bring benefits concretely to rail. Second, space can make your ecosystem, the ecosystem of the railway sector, more innovative and therefore more competitive. more competitive whenever in Europe, and certainly for the next years, many years, we will have major investments in the rail sector in Europe. But there are other areas of the world. And we know that in Asia, we know that in the Americas, there's a lot of investment already happening and in the future in the rail sector. And certainly, we all want, at least I do, and certainly my EU colleagues want that as well, that the European industry is successful in those sectors, and it will be successful if it is competitive. Now, coming back to the rail sector and how space can benefit, a few things have already been mentioned. It has been mentioned, in particular, the positioning element. You may or not know, one of the big aspects of the EU space is about positioning, talking about Galileo, our global satellite navigation system, global coverage, and in particular as well our augmentation system, EGNOS. And EGNOS is particularly relevant for rail. It has been developed for aviation. Curiously, today it's very much used in aviation, by the way, but it's actually also very much used in agriculture. More than 95% of all the tractors that are sold in the EU, they are equipped with EGNOS. And we are working, and we would like to work together with our partners of the European Railway Agency, Europe's Rail and others. We would like to work to bring also EGNOS to rail. Because EGNOS has certain capabilities that are interesting and attractive for the rail sector. Certainly the element of integrity. Then, of course, and positioning is important. Then, of course, there is the element of communications. We are making in the Union a big effort in developing secured communication capabilities. GovSatcom, IRIS2 was already mentioned. IRIS2 is about secured communication capabilities. And I will not elongate myself a lot because I know most of the focus of this conference is when it comes to navigation and the use of Galileo EGNOS. But there is as well a session tomorrow, I invite you to stay, where we will be talking about SATCOM and how the future European secured communication capability can be brought also into the rail domain. Last but not least, I don't go through the full list you have there on my back, and I see you all taking pictures, so very good, you can go through it at home. I would mention Copernicus. Copernicus on the Earth observation domain. Copernicus is important, again, not really the topic of the conference, but maybe, for example, very useful when we look at the infrastructure managers, and we had Adif speaking just before. For example, things such as track maintenance, monitoring activities, Earth observation is important. I mean, and one of the things that space brings to you is coverage, because by nature, all these systems, they cover everywhere, where there are people, where there are no people, in the fields, in the cities, etc., etc. And they bring reliability, in particular those that are built to be extra reliable. Now, the conference that we have had back in Vienna in 2019 has been mentioned. At that point in time, with our partners, we discussed and worked on a stepwise approach to deploying GNSS in ERTMS. We continue progressing, by the way, and of course, since then, we have developed a number of projects. I think you will see them across the days. There are many presentations on the result of technology development projects, or if you want, pilot projects, experimental projects that are bringing the adoption of the technology forward. Now, from now on, we want to go further. We have worked together in the recent months, and we have worked together to put down an action plan. Certainly, it's an action plan that is ambitious, but I think the rail sector and the push that there is on the rail sector fully justifies our ambition. And we are ultimating the details because we really want to push forward, and we really, that is our intention, also that of our partners, we really want to bring space to the tracks. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Quite interesting. And now we are moving to Joseph, who has the other perspective. He is from rail. So, you know better than anyone else the rail perspective. So, how do you see satellite technology? What are the challenges and the problems that it could help rail to answer from your perspective?
Many thanks, Inigo. Good afternoon, everyone. And I just would like to come back to the commitment of President Ursula von der Leyen to the Green Deal targets that she mentioned this morning in her State of the Union address. And I just would like to repeat that rail is a very environmentally friendly mode of transport. Per transport unit, person kilometer, ton kilometer, about 10 times less emissions than other transport modes such as the car or the aircraft. Now, and Marisa addressed it in her speech, rail is a guided mode of transport, and the environmental advantages come from the fact that we have very low friction between the wheel and the rail. This is an enormous advantage, but there is a price to pay. The price to pay is that we have long braking distances. And many here in this room have the task, working in the control command and signaling domain, to develop and maintain systems that protect trains from each other so that we avoid derailments and collisions. So, in short, we can solve fundamental problems of rail, meaning to detect the position and the speed of trains, but also the safe communication between trains and ground with satellite-based technology. And Rodrigo has already mentioned, we are cooperating, Europe's Rail, EUSPA and ERA, to seek optimum solutions. And we have heard from Marcin the economic background. We also need to seek solutions that are protecting the investment that has already been made and that remain cost efficient. Now, coming back to another problem of rail. So one issue is clearly the need to have safety systems. The other problem that we have is the fragmentation in rail. Unfortunately, we have many national systems that are not interoperable, that still have a long lifetime, and that also complicate ERTMS, because if you have to have a number of STMs, if you have to integrate these, this all makes ERTMS very costly. Marcin mentioned the price difference between the American PTC and ERTMS of a factor of 10. I could also add that I myself, I'm working on ERTMS since 1992. If I count correctly, this is 31 years. And PTC has been deployed in 3 years. So there is a significant difference in cost, but also in speed of development. A top priority for us, therefore, is to get to one European system which can be effectively developed, which can be deployed effectively and maintained effectively, because we don't have to double develop, to double equip, and to double maintain. And we heard Barbara Dalla in her speech. The European Parliament in 21, in their resolution, already asked for a more intensive collaboration between ERTMS and the European satellite navigation problem. Now, finally, coming to some challenges. The European Union Agency for Railways is committed to integrating GNSS technologies into the ERTMS specification. GNSS has to become an integrative part of ERTMS, and we will develop this new version of the legal framework for the next TSI package, which is scheduled for around 2027. Just for your information, and if you are interested, the current TSI 22-23 was just published last week, Wednesday, 6th of September, and will enter into force soon. Now, with this integration in the legal framework, we of course want to advance the digitalization of rail operation, and we also want to improve efficiency. Efficiency also in terms of predictive maintenance. There are some prerequisites. Firstly, we need an agreed architectural approach, and the system pillar within Europe's rail will help us to arrive there. Then, of course, we need the demonstration from the side of GNSS that we can achieve the necessary safety level, that we can produce reliable and standardized products, that we can demonstrate a clear business case for everyone, and Martin mentioned the challenges, and I believe we also need to address the security challenges. In the last couple of weeks, we heard issues about some functionality in Poland that allows hackers to stop trains on the go. Over the weekend, some left groups just set cables on fire in Germany, also stopping trains. And I understood that during the war in Ukraine, the Russians were quite effective in blocking satellite signals. So we also need solid, concrete answers to these challenges. But we are here today to discuss solution and to also showcase the progress that has been made since 2019. I am very much looking forward to an interesting conference. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Joseph. That was also quite interesting. So now we are concluding with Giorgio, who has the perspective of the Undertaking, Europe's Rail, where the nice ideas, technological ideas, become a reality for the sector. So from your perspective, how do you see the sector working on the goals that we have discussed, on the problems that we have mentioned? How do you see it?
Thank you, Inigo. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. So, I am the last of the panel with the obvious difficult task not to repeat all the good things that has been already said. So, maybe how do we make it concrete? I'm going back actually to something that is a bit less concrete, because we need to start with understanding the context in which we are operating, and all the different possibilities and opportunities that we have also from political declarations. So we heard before that the Special Commissioner for Transport mentioned that using space for rail is a clear opportunity, very good. We have heard that this morning the President of the EU mentioned that one of the key concerns for the future will be the European competitiveness, very good. But how do we harness all of these? How do we translate these opportunities that also satellite can provide to the rail transport in concrete action? And I think what we have provided all together, and with also the fact that we have a European rail joint undertaking, we have provided the framework under which these can be made possible. And it will be up to you to deliver it. We have set in Europe's rail a certain number of challenges that we would like to tackle, and a great number of them can be addressed also through the use of satellite. So we have seen that satellite could make rail more efficient, because we can then position with more accuracies and maybe in real time the train, and then apply different type of technologies to it. We can have a more cost-efficient solution. Marcin mentioned it. But all of these, we want to have a global ERTMS system, so also increasing the competitiveness, so with a real concrete case. and addressing also all the legacy systems. So if we get rid of some components, there is no more legacy, and this is in a way also good. So how do we make it happen? Well, I think we need to have a structural and coherent approach. I think we already made a first step, and the first step is that we have created a research and innovation program that is addressing this, and this is in EUROPS-Rail, so it's the European Rail Research and Innovation Program. And it's good that we have been setting it up, and it's not written in stone. So today we are still further fine-tuning it. And one example of this is the collaboration that we're having now with the European Union Agency for Space, and as well as with the European Union Agency for Railway, and also ESA at the end, so that we can make a reality with the action plan that also Rodrigo mentioned, the use of satellite in rail. We also need to realize that we're not starting from scratch. So a lot has been already done in the previous Shift to Rail program. We heard from Marisa as well at national level. So what we need to do is to bring everything together under one roof. And it's not because I want that you bring under one roof, but it is sincerely, I believe that at the end we need to have one solution, one standard that will be applicable in the TSI in 2027, on which, of course, competitiveness and all of you, all the manufacturers, will compete to have an appropriate and cost-efficient solution. Concretely speaking, we have in the current program, in flagship project 2, we are planning 8 demonstration activities on the use of Satellite4Rail. I'm sure you will hear them later on in these conferences, but just to mention, there will be several companies working on them, manufacturers and research center providing solutions to this challenge. And I name them because it's important, it's a commitment also from those companies to ensure that a solution is there and available for defining better the technical specifications that will enter in 2027. Those demonstrations will be starting in 2025. They are ITRL level demonstrations. We will have Indra, we will have SAIT, we will have Thales GTS, we will have AGD, Siemens, Airbus, Alstom, Mermec, and DLR, all of them providing technical solutions for those demonstrations. And those demonstrations will cover, well, obviously, trains running under different type of conditions, but we will try also to benefit from other innovation. So, not looking again in isolation, looking at the program in an integrated way, and in this integrated way, we also look for autonomous solution, autonomous test train run, and also freight, which let's not forget, before as Beata mentioned also the importance of the digital automatic coupler. Also I think Martin mentioned the different investments that all of these will create, but we need to be able to package them together so that we harness all the opportunities. And the last point, so we need to close the circle. So research for research is not enough, even with good demonstrator. We need to capitalize that, the collaboration with the agency we have already mentioned, to put it into the TSI, but to have all the sector agreeing about it and working with what we have created, the system pillar, to make it possible. So we need to be sure that everybody is on board. And the last point is the investment. So we need to have a migration plan that is solid, a migration plan that is European, and we need to have the deployment capability to make it happen, both in terms of resources, in terms of industry, from the industry point of view, but also in terms of financial resources and capability, also human capability to make it happen. So all of these, just to tell you that we have the framework to make sure that this is happening, and now the work is back to you to ensure that we have a solution, to ensure that this solution is one, to to ensure that we have the architectural element and that we can go forward for the next step, which will be the deployment.
Thanks a lot, Giorgio. So I know we are a bit out of time, but let's find 5 minutes more for questions. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to raise your hand and we will approach the micro. And in the meantime, I will be a bit bold with you and I will ask you the question I got in mind. Man, you already mentioned about an action plan, the legal framework, the new TSIs for 2027, but from the citizen perspective, educated guess, in which date, which year do you think citizens will see satellite technology being part of railways and taking advantage of it? 2030, 2025, 2050? You tell me from your perspective. Let's be bold and see if others here in the room share that vision.
I will try to tackle the question by turning it around, as maybe as a politician would do. First thing, citizens are seeing space every day, even if they don't see it. Most of you used your maps thing to come here. You were using space data. You saw your weather forecast. You're using space data, etc., etc. It is a good question, but ultimately, I don't think it really matters. I think what really matters is when are users going to see an even better and better and better rail system. And certainly, this is a stepwise process that passes through many things, including space, but not exclusively space. I mean, I'm very far from considering that space is the unique and ultimate solution to all the issues of rail, but certainly we want to contribute to that. And as well, again, space will play a very important role, I believe, in the competitiveness of European industry at large, but also in the rail sector. Because at a certain point in time, or not at a certain point in time, already today, but more and more, our actors, the manufacturers, the train manufacturers, the signal manufacturers, the one that build tracks, etc., will want to go outside the EU and will want to acquire business. And they will be able of doing that if their products, if their solutions are competitive, not among Europeans, but against the Americans, against the Asians, the Asian companies, etc., etc. And there, again, space can play a fundamental sector. Then, seeing space concretely on the rail sector, I think I better hand the question to the rail experts.
Well, I would be tempted to say we already have space applications in rail. We already have a tracking system for wagons. We also already have some signaling applications. Some of these applications since quite some time. I mentioned the TSI package 22-23. This new TSI package contains a fundamental precondition, which is the modularity, because that modularity allows to add, and we will specify it in the next TSI, to add this positioning subsystem in a standardized manner, and satellite-based positioning can be one of the key technologies in this positioning module. Now, if we calculate and if we take into account all the results that should come out of the demonstration activities from Europe's rail, I would count that serious products should hit the market in 2030. Yeah, that seems to be a realistic perspective. We have the precondition now, we have the development going on, we will conclude the standardization of these aspects in 27, and then give the industry 3 years to come up with products that can be deployed. That should be a target that we should all be working to.
Please go ahead.
I just would like to add a bit. Let's not forget that we shouldn't have a fixed single target. In the sense, if you look what we're going to do, I have mentioned and Joseph also repeated the fact that we're going to have demonstration activities in 2025, and all of these will provide an input. But the story is not finished there. So it's just the first step. There will be constant innovation that we need to put into the system in a faster pace than what maybe we have been done in the past, and this modularity, I'm sure it will help a lot the rail system. The last call of Europe's rail for research and innovation activities will happen in 2027. And then there is a project that will last 2 or 3 years. So already here you can see that there will be already further innovation, and the activities will not stop with Europe's rail, even if, if there is a continuation or not, in any case, research and innovation will not stop. So my message to you is also, try yourself also to be bold, use the new instruments, architecture that we are putting in place to allow modularity, and innovate as soon as you can. Don't wait for a fixed deadline that we're going to tell you to implement.
Yeah, first of all, as regards the date, so any date in the future and any delay, an additional year is just a lost year for the European railways and also for European taxpayers. This is clear. So we have to be very ambitious. And I would say that we might expect the uptake much earlier than in 2030. So I'm convinced that, for example, Finnish colleagues, I don't know if there are any Finnish colleagues in the room, are going to implement satellite technology even before 2030. So in the next possibly 5 years, there should be already some lines definitely equipped, and maybe not equipped exactly trackside with that many balises as we do now. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Also, it's promising perspectives. I don't know if there's any remaining question in the room, if anyone wants to ask something, or everybody want to leave the room just to go for the coffee.
Jaroslav Haltov, Chairman of the Europe's Rail States Representatives Group. I have a very simple question. I very appreciate all the presentations, speeches of all our speakers here. And when looking at the slide of EUSPA, about the products and services, I have a simple question. Space services can help railway for further development. There is no fact against. It doesn't work? Yeah. My question is how or if also the rail community can ask to develop some services which will fit to better services in railways. So vice versa, in opposite.
Thank you very much, and it is indeed a symbiotic approach, because there is the both aspects, and I think, by the way, it's part of the discussions we have been having, is how to bring and how to bring space in general into the rail sector, and it will go in steps. Today, there are a number of services already being provided from space. For example, looking at EGNOS, it provides integrity, it's used in aviation, so it has the safety of life component, etc., etc. It provides a number of capabilities that already today can be helpful or are helpful in the railway domain. So the first step certainly needs to be, and this is, if you want, the shorter term, to deploy that into the rail sector. But there will be more, and certainly the systems and the services as they exist today, they will not be able, they will not fulfill all the potential that there is in space for rail. For us, conversely, it's very important to listen to the user needs. For example, when we develop a new service, and we are right now developing one for the maritime world, we are consulting with the maritime actors to understand what are the needs and what can be provided by the current system and how the system will have to evolve in order to provide even more. And certainly this exchange exists, but will more and more exist in the future also with the rail sector. So certainly there are the two aspects. There is a first aspect is from what exists today, what can we bring now, and certainly, I mean, we have all our delays, but what can be brought as ASAP. Second, how can the systems evolve to bring even more? And that will be through user consultations, through the dialogue with the representatives, certainly the agencies, certainly with ERA, certainly with EUSPA, but also in the consultations with the different associations, be it the manufacturers, the operators, the infrastructure owners, etc., etc.
Okay, I don't see any other. Oh, I see a last question there.
Okay, thanks. I hope this is a short question now, but I see one problem in your storyline. The rail domain is just one of many customers of space services. So especially, I'm coming from the communication part, a satellite provider, he does not care what the rail providers are just one of many customers. So my question is, does the rail domain need special services, especially from the communication part? If yes, how can we implement this? Because the space operators won't easily or only provide something with very high costs. And this could be a problem. So can we live with consumer services, for example? Which I believe is possible in many cases, but not in all. So.
I guess the question is to me, and I will try to answer. So now we are talking about telecom, right? The telecommunication domain. And certainly GSM was also not developed for rail, and still rail uses particular parts of the GSM domain. So there was an evolution from there. Looking at the telecom, what is happening, what is happening in the sector is there will be a gradual integration of ground-based networks and space-based networks. We see a big increase on the constellation side for many reasons, in many different applications, from the pure consumer market up to the security area. I mean, for those of you that have followed, for example, the first days of the Russian aggression to Ukraine, their satellite communication was extremely important, and in particular a US private company played an important role in that. In the European Union, we want to do, and we will do, something ourselves. It's called IRIS, it's a secured communication network, which will serve a mix, will serve private users, so there is a private part to the network, but will also serve government and governmental authorized users. And potentially, and the government and governmental authorized users will be served with secured services, with different level of security, depending on the particular needs. Certainly there are different areas. A military customer may not need the same type of security as a governmental agency. There will be different aspects. But those services will be provided with a certain service level agreement. So the users of those services will have the guarantee of that service. Then we will need certainly, and soon will be the time, to enter into the dialogue with the rail sector, whether the services that are planned, similar to what happened years ago on the GSM, are sufficient for the rail sector, or whether there are particular needs that will require a rail secure sector on the telecom side. And this will be defined, and this will be part of the normal evolution. There is no single. I don't think there will be a single telecom system just for one particular application, but it's important that the telecom systems, they provide solutions to the different applications according to the different needs. I hope I answered.
Thanks a lot, Rodrigo. Well, I think, Catherine, correct me, but it's time for a coffee break. Well deserved for all. So I would like to ask you for a big applause to all the panelists for valuable contributions.